All right, guys, this is the test review for test 8, where we look at the graphs of sine and cosine functions. We look at the graphs of all of the other functions, and we look at some inverse functions and some application problems on the back. So this is on Schoology. If you need it, I'm going to work all these problems. And then I don't have a whole lot of time, so I'm going to try to speed through them. So if I say something or if I go and the problem's not right and you do your work and I don't know, something just doesn't look right, don't just feel like what I did was right if you know something didn't match. Just let me know and come ask me about it because it's likely I might have made a mistake because I was trying to go so fast. But let me know if you got any questions. All right, so we're getting to the first part where we are starting off with some graphs of either sine or cosine, and we want to be able to write a function for each one of these. So let's start off by looking at number one. All right, so first one, this function number one here. So I see it goes as high as 5 and it goes down to -5, so that would be my amplitude. I can say the amplitude will be 5. And since it starts at the amplitude, I know it's going to be cosine function. Since it starts at the positive amplitude, it will be +5. So I can go ahead and put 5 cosine. And now I need to figure out what b is. So I need to figure out what the period is. So like I say, it's either where your graph starts to repeat again, or starting from 0, you can count 5 total points or 4 more points once you get past 0. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This is where the function ends at 8. So I can set it up to where the period will equal 2 pi over b should equal 8. And then to solve this one, I would multiply both sides by b, and then I would divide both sides by 8, so I'd get 2 pi over 8 equals b, and then I'll reduce that to pi over 4. So that's my b, so I would finish this function with pi over 4x. And then number 2. I see the function starts at the origin, so I know it's going to be sine, and then it goes up, so it's going to be positive sine. My amplitude will be positive. I see it goes up to 4, and the lowest it goes is -4, so my amplitude will be 4. So at this point, I got y equals +4 sine, and now I need to figure out what b is. So I find the period by, it starts right here, goes down, comes back up, and then it'll stop repeating there, or 5 total points. 1, 2, 3 is halfway there, 4, 5 is right here. And it looks like this is counting by 2, so it goes 1 pi, 2 pi, 3 pi, actually it goes by 2, so 0 pi, 2 pi, 4 pi, 6 pi, 8 pi is my period. So I know the period should be 2 pi over b, will come out to equal 8 pi. And then just like before, I'll multiply by b, I'll divide by 8. And what I get is 2 pi over 8 pi equals b. The pi's cancel. 2 goes into 8 4 times. So what I'm left with is b equals 1 over 4. So then I come here and this would be 1 over 4x. Number 3. I'm sorry, I'm in another classroom, so this thing is backwards, so it's tough to try to go back and forth. Third one, see it starts at the origin, so it's going to be sine, and its first move is down, so it's going to be negative sine. And it looks like it fluctuates between 1 and -1, so that would be my amplitude. So far we got so far we got y equals -1 sine and then I need to figure out what B is. So this period finishes at right here, 4 pi over 3. So 2 pi over B should equal 4 pi over 3. I'll cross multiply and I get 6 pi. 2 pi times 3 equals 6 pi times 4 pi B, and then I'll divide by 4 pi. I'm sorry you couldn't see that, but I'll divide by 4 pi. So I set it equal to 4 pi over 3. 3 times 2 pi, 6 pi, and then I got 4 pi B. So then I'll divide by 4 pi to both sides, and what I get is 6 over 4, which reduces to 3 over 2. So I finish my function with 3 over 2x. Number 4. Amplitude looks to be pi and negative pi. Since it starts at an amplitude, it's going to be cosine, and it starts down this time, so it's going to be a negative amplitude. So far I got y equals negative pi, because my amplitude is flipped. So y equals negative pi. It's cosine because it starts at the amplitude, and then I need to figure out the period. So from here we go up, we come back down, and we stop right here at 2 pi. So it's 2 pi over b. 2 pi over b equals 2 pi. I divide by 2 pi, multiply by b, and we get 2 pi over 2 pi. So all of that cancels, and I get b equals 1. So here I would just put just x. You could put 1x, it doesn't matter, but they mean the same thing. Alright, number 5. Amplitude looks to be 3. Negative 3 and 3 is how high I go. It starts at an amplitude, so it's going to be cosine. And it starts at the bottom, so it'll be negative cosine. So at this point, I got y equals negative 3 cosine. And then we need to figure out what b is. So I followed the first cycle, and I see 4 pi is where it stops at. So I'm going to set 2 pi over b equal to that. So come over here. 2 pi over b equals 4 pi, I believe it was. Divide by 4, multiply by b. 2 pi over b equals, 2 pi over 4 pi equals b. Pi's cancel. I got 2 over 4 equals b. b equals 1/2. So 1/2 x. Number 6. Starts at the origin, so it's sine. I see 2 and negative 2 is what it fluctuates up and down between. So 2 is my amplitude, and it starts at the origin, but it goes down first, which lets me know it's going to be a reflection. So I got y equals negative 2 sine, and then we need to figure out what b is. So follow the pattern, or count the points. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. At 4 is where it finishes its cycle. So I'm going to set that equal to 2 pi over b. So 2 pi over b equals 4. Divide by 4, multiply by b. And I get 2 pi over 4 equals b. b equals just 1 pi over 2. So what I have here is pi over 2x. Alright. turn over to a new page, 2 more of these. So right here starts at the origin, so it's sine. I see it's very flattened, so I'm probably having a compression, and I see 3/4 is my amplitude. It goes up to positive 3/4, it goes down to negative 3/4, and since it goes up first, it lets me know the amplitude is going to be positive. So at this point, I have y equals positive 3/4 sine. Now I just need to figure out the period and find b. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, the period finishes at 1. So 2 pi over b equals 1. I multiply both sides by b, and I find that b equals 2 pi. So I would finish this one with 2 pi x. Then last one of this type, number 8. And feel free to pause the video at any point if you want to try to take a shot at one of these, and then you can work going forward. So since it starts at the amplitude, I know it's cosine, and I see it goes up and down between 5/2 and negative 5/2. So, and since it starts down, the amplitude would be negative. So I'm starting off with sine, y equals negative 5/2 sine, and then we gotta look at the period to figure out what b is.
Do you have the key? Did somebody take the key to the locker room?
Yeah, I think she's down there though. Did y'all already check?
Okay, thank you.
She should be down there.
Okay, thank you.
All right, no problem. So we start here, we go up, and we come back down, and it looks like the cycle completes at 2. I could also count, and make sure you include 0. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 at the 5th point is where the period finishes. So I will set that equal to 2 pi over b. And then I'll solve. Multiply by b, divide by 2, I get 2 pi over 2 equals b. 2's cancel, so b equals pi. So this function will be y equals negative 5/2 sine, and then pi times x. All right, so with these first ones, you can find the amplitude, just see how high and how low the graph goes. You find the period by counting 5 total points, including the 0 point, and it's at the 5th point, or you just look to see when the function completes one cycle. Remember, sine starts at the origin, cosine starts at the amplitude, and then if you start or go down first, that lets you know it'll be reflected. So if cosine's amplitude is negative, it will start at the bottom versus starting at the top of the amplitude like it did right here on number 1. For sine, if it's positive, you'll start at the origin, but you'll go up first. If it's negative, you'll start at the origin and go down for sine. All right, so let's go on to the second grouping. We just want to talk about the transformations of these next group of problems. So the amplitude, and you don't really have to say if it's a vertical stretch or compression. We just need to know the amplitude, and as long as we know that, we can understand what the graph is, what the max and what the minimum value of the graph is. So we just want to say what the amplitude is. We'll find the phase shift, the midline shift, and determine if it's flipped across any of the axes. And we also need to find the period as well. So let's get started with number 9. So for number 9, we got y equals sine 2x. So amplitude is 1. There's nothing there in front of sine, so it's understood a 1 to be there. The period for sine, I'll say 2 pi over b. b is 2, so 2 pi over 2. 2's cancel, and we get a period of pi. Then I'll look at, let's see, I'll try to keep the same order. Phase shift, because I know it bothers some of y'all when it gets out of order and messes y'all all the way up. So phase shift will be whatever is in place of C. So there will be something in the parentheses being added, subtracting, nothing there. So you can say 0, or you can say none, or you can say NA, whatever. Just indicate that it is no phase shift. And then we have midline shift. I just write midline. There is nothing. So this is none as well. There would be something being added or subtracted after the parentheses here. So none there. And then finally, is it reflected or flipped? And I'll say no. The x-axis would be a negative in front. The y-axis would be reflected if there was a negative in front of this too. But since there isn't, I'll say there's no flips as well. All right. Number 10. Y equals negative 2 cosine 1 over 4x. Amplitude is 2. Remember, we just want the absolute value of that. So we don't care about the sign. We only care about the lead number. So amplitude is 2. Period for cosine is 2 pi. So I'll do 2 pi over b. B is 1/2. So 2 pi divided by 1/2. 1 over 4, sorry. So I will keep the first thing, multiply by the reciprocal. So I'll keep change flipped. And then I have 4 times 2 pi equals 8 pi over 1. So period is 8 pi. Midline. There's nothing in there being added, subtracted, so none. Phase shift. Oh, I did it out of order, didn't I? Phase shift is none as well. And then it is reflected. It's reflected or it's flipped across the x-axis. And that's because the lead number is negative. If A is negative and 2 is A in this case, if that's negative, it reflects across the x-axis. And that's that one. Next we got y equals cosecant negative 3 pi over 2x. All right, amplitude, no number in front of cosecant, so understood to be a 1 there. So for the amplitude, I'll say 1 to find the period. Cosecant has a period of 2 pi, just like its reciprocal sign. So 2 pi over b. B is 3 over 2, so 2 pi divided by negative 3 pi over 2. So I'm going to keep 2 pi. I'm going to multiply by the reciprocal of negative 3 pi over 2. So I multiply by 2, negative 2 over 3 pi. The pi's cancel. Nothing else cancels out. So here I got 2 times 2 is negative 4 over 3 is my period. Phase shift. Nothing there. Nothing inside being added, subtracted, so none. Midline. Also none. And then reflection. I do have a reflection. It reflects across the y-axis this time because the b is negative. The number in front of x is negative, so that's going to be a reflection across the y-axis. So I will write flipped across y-axis this time. Almost wrote x, but it should be y this time. Alright, number 12, see if I can fit one more on this page. Number 12, we got y equals 3 secant 1 over 4x. Amplitude, 3, period, 2 pi over b, 2 pi over 1 over 4. I'll keep 2 pi and I'll multiply by 4 over 1, which comes out to equal 8 pi. Phase shift, none. Midline, also none. And flipped, none. Y equals cotangent negative pi over 4x. All right, amplitude the same as before. Here it's 1 since nothing got in front of it. For my period, this changes for cotangent because cotangent has a period of pi. So this time I'll do pi over b, which is pi over negative pi over 4. I'll keep pi and I'll change to multiplication, and then I'll flip to negative 4 over pi. The pi's cancel, so I'm left with 1 times negative 4, which equals negative 4 over 1. So my period is just negative 4. Phase shift, none. We'll get to phase shifts later. Midline, also none. And then we do have a reflection or flipped. It is flipped across the y-axis because b is negative right here. 14. Y equals tangent pi over 2x. Amplitude is 1. Period of tangent is, and I spelled period wrong, but the period of tangent is pi, so it'll be pi over b, which is pi over, sorry, I was already flipping it, pi over 2. So I keep pi, I multiply by 2 over pi, the pi's cancel, and I get a period of 2. Phase shift, none. The midline shift, also none. And then flipped, I'm sorry we couldn't see any of that. Flipped is also none. All right, 15. Y equals 2 cosine pi over 2x. Amplitude, lead numbers 2. Period, 2 pi over b, where b is pi over 2. Keep 2 pi, multiply by 2 over pi. Pi's cancel, and I'm left with 2 times 2 equaling 4 for my period. Phase shift, none. Midline, also none. And then reflection, or is it flipped? Also none. 16. Y equals negative sine 4x. Amplitude 1, sorry. Amplitude is 1. Period of sine is 2 pi. So this period of 2 pi over b, b is 4. So this will reduce to pi over 2. Phase, none. Midline, none. Flipped, Yes, because the lead number is negative. A is negative, so that is the x-axis. All right, and then we get into a bit more work to find like the phase shift and such. All right, so number 17, we got y equals 5 tangent 1 over 4x plus pi over 8. All right, so we will have a phase shift. So to go ahead and get started, I'll go ahead and write it in what we were calling standard form, which means I need to take out b from both of these terms in parentheses. So I basically do the opposite of 1 times 4 to each term. So instead of multiplying x by 1 over 4, I'll multiply it by 4 over 1. So I'll flip this because 4 times 1/4 would cancel itself out. So I'll multiply both of these terms by 4 to see what my real phase shift is down the line. So we get y equals 5 tangent, and I'm factoring out 1 over 4. X will stay, and then I'll add 4 times pi is 4 pi over 8, which will reduce to pi over 4. I'm sorry, over 2. Pi over 2. So that's what my real C is, pi over 2. And then I'll finish my equation. So now I got it in standard form, I'll be able to see my phase shift straightforward. So amplitude is 5 for the period of tangent. It's pi over b, which is pi over 1/4. So I'll keep pi. I'll multiply by the reciprocal, which gives me 4 pi as a period. And then my phase shift, now that I factored out b, is pi over 2. And since it's plus, I'll do the opposite and go left, pi over 2. And then midline, none. And then flipped is also none. $18. We start off with y equals 3. Sorry about that. This teacher has a little bell up here. So we start off with 3 cosecant 2x plus pi over 2. Standard form will be y equals 3 cosecant. We're going to factor out 2 from x. And in order to do that, we would need to divide both terms by 2. So if I divide the second term by 2, what I get is pi over 2 divided by 2, which comes out to equal pi over 4. So this will be plus pi over 4. So now I can answer the questions. Amplitude didn't change. That's 3. Period. We can find 2 pi over b. This time b is 2, so 2 pi over 2. The 2's cancel, and we get a period of just pi. Phase shift. I can clearly see it now. It's not left pi over 2, it's left pi over 4. Midline, none. And then is it flipped? It is not, so none for that as well. All right, 19. y equals -1/3 secant 4x minus 8 pi. Here we factor out 4 to get it in standard form, so it would be y equals -1/3 secant. We factor out 4, and we would have divided by 4, so -8 divided by 4 is -2 pi. So I know it works because I can distribute 4 and I should get what I started with. So 4 times x is 4x, and then 4 times -2 pi is -8 pi. So I know I got it right just by checking if I redistribute it. So amplitude is 1/3. The period of secant is 2 pi. So 2 pi over b, which is 4, which reduces to pi over 2 as our period. Phase shift. Phase shift is what we see right here, 2 pi, and since it's negative, I'll go in the positive direction, which is right 2 pi. Midline, none yet. And then is it flipped or is it reflected? It is flipped across the x-axis because the lead number is negative. So flipped across the x-axis. All right, 20. Y equals cotangent 1/4x minus pi over 2. All right, to get it in standard form, we get y equals cotangent. I factor out 1/4. That leaves x. In order to get that 1/4 to cancel away from x, I would have multiplied by 4. So we do that to negative pi over 2. So 4 times negative pi over 2 equals negative 4 pi over 2, which reduces to negative 2 pi. So I'd say minus 2 pi. So then that gives me amplitude 1, period of cotangent is pi over b. So pi over 1/4. Keep pi, multiply by 4 over 1, and I get 4 pi as my period. Phase shift. Phase shift is right 2 pi. Midline shift is none, and then there is no reflection, so flipped none as well. All right, a few more of these and we'll be through these. So 21, y equals 2 sine 2 pi times x plus 2 pi. So to get it in standard form, I'll factor out 2 pi this time. So I get y equals 2 sine 2 pi. I leave x there by itself. In order to get 2 pi to separate from x, I would have needed to divide by 2 pi. So I'll divide this side by 2 pi as well. When I factor that 2 pi out, only thing that's left there will be 1. So I get 2 pi times x plus 1. So amplitude is 2. Period of sine is 2 pi over 2. B is 2, which gives me just pi. Phase shift. Will be left 1 midline shift is none. And then is it reflected? No, there is no reflection, so I say none as well. 22, y equals -2 cosine 2 pi x plus 4 pi plus 4. Oh, and on 21, I think I left off -2, it looks like. Let me go add that back into there, -2, and that's going to change my midline. So the midline is actually down 2. All right, sorry I missed that earlier. Wrote the problem down wrong. So we got -2 at the very end is my midline shift. It sends me down 2. All right, so standard form, -2 cosine. I factor out 2 pi, just like last time. X will stay by itself. And if I divided this term by 2 pi, I would get just 2. So plus 2 plus 4. And just to be clear, the second part, it was 4 pi divided by 2 pi. Pi's cancel, 4 over 2 is just 2. So just 2 is what I have left. I can check by distributing it back. 2 pi times 2 is 4 pi. 2 pi times x is 2 pi x. So I know I factored it out right. So now we're ready to go. Amplitude is 2 period of cosine is 2 pi over b, where b is 2 pi. So this period will be 1. Phase shift. Now that I see it in standard form, it will be left 2, not 4 pi. And then midline. Midline shift is the opposite of plus 2, so left 2. And I do have a reflection. It is flipped across the x-axis, since the 2 in front is flipped across the x-axis. Alright, one more to go. Y equals 3 cosine pi x minus 2 pi plus 5. Standard form will be y equals 3 cosine. I factor out pi. That leaves x. I would have divided by pi to get x by itself, so I'll divide this side by pi. So basically 2 pi, -2 pi divided by pi will come out to equal just -2. So on this side I get -2, close parentheses, plus 5. Amplitude is 3. Period is 2 pi over b, where b is pi, so it will come out to equal 2. Midline, or phase, sorry, try to stay in order. Phase shift is right 2, because I do the opposite. Midline is up 5, plus 5 at the end sends me up 5, and then reflected, or flipped I should have said, reflected, none. Maybe I should have said reflection, but it is not flipped because A is positive and B is negative. All right, so I think the bell's about to ring. A lot of students are about to come in here. So this will be like part 1 of the review video. I'll make a second one starting from 24 on. So I think all we got left to do is to graph some of these functions. You won't have to graph these last ones we did, but I think we'll graph some of these first ones, because the ones you'll graph will be very basic. Identify which of these functions is which, and then look at some inverse functions and some applications of those, and we'll be finished. See you guys in the next video.